Hey there, this is the One Boom, and today we're going to be talking about Season 5 of Black Ops Cold War and how it's adding a bunch of new remade maps, which is sort of oxymoronic and something we're going to be discussing here. And this video is not about whether or not I'm interested in the maps or what the maps are, because some of the maps that are coming out I'm actually interested in. It's just that's not relevant to this video. I can't let something I'm excited for get in the way of perfectly good complaining. My problem isn't so much that Treyarch is remaking maps or isn't remaking maps, or whether the maps are new or not. That's not really the issue. My issue is that when the community starts to discuss with themselves in sort of abrupt manners on Twitter and Reddit and YouTube or whatever, and they discuss what should be added to the game, whether we should have new and interesting maps or really good remakes of old fan favorites, and when that discussion's unfolding, the response by certain people, in fact today it was Charlie Intel, backed by T. Martin, saying that, well, to these people complaining about the new maps being added or the remade maps being added, if it was the other way around, you'd probably just complain about that too. And boy howdy, I've never related to something more than that. It is for sure annoying when it seems like you can't please a player base. You've added too much, you've not added enough, it's just a giant bitch fest because, you know, if you give us remade maps, we want new maps, you give us new maps, we want remade maps. Yeah, it's frustrating, and if you can hear the thunder outside my house while I record this, I do apologize. So yeah, I get it. It's frustrating that it seems like people are never happy. That's the thing, is that the community isn't a sole person. Communities aren't people, they're full of people. There isn't a singular COD community, not just because Call of Duty's so big that that would be impossible unless you just want to say anybody who buys the same video game is a part of the community, which obviously not. That's why we you probably already distinguish different communities from each other. Like you could say like the multiplayer community, the comp community, the speedrunning community, the zombies community. They make up the Call of Duty player base. And that doesn't devalue the term. Player bases are important, but no, there isn't a COD community that's just hypocritical and argumentative with itself. It's individuals that have different preferences and ideas of what their favorite game could be. Buying the same game in no way means that your goals and ambitions for the game are aligned. So stop. Stop saying that the Call of Duty community is hypocritical because the Call of Duty community doesn't exist. You can't just put everybody under the blanket statement of community, say it's hypocritical, and kick it out the door. Especially if you are also a Call of Duty player, because if your general idea of what a community is that vague and that general, then you yourself are probably in it as well, which means you're calling yourself hypocritical and stupid, and you go ahead and kick yourself out with them. So the argument then is twofold. You have the people that are debating whether or not they want old maps or new maps. Okay, that's a fair debate. You could have that. You could have interesting discussions from that. But then the second problem is that you would just be complaining anyway. Nobody will be happy no matter what decision is reached, so we might as well reach any decision. Okay, that doesn't work, because there are some things that I think are universally important, especially if the game wants to hold people's attention for longer than a month, and that is novelty and creativity. You have to give people new experiences. I think that's just a universal fact. And when your throwbacks aren't special anymore, it does give the impression that you are fresh the fuck out of ideas. You might have noticed if you're a longtime viewer of this channel that this gameplay that you're seeing on screen right now has been used before. So, do you like that? I don't know, there's a lot of evidence that shows that when it comes to game commentaries, using recycled footage actually hurts viewer retention. But I'm using it to make a point, like we sort of universally appreciate novelty. You know, it's kind of hard to say that a new bad map would be better than an old good map. That's a hard claim to make, and that's why I think it's really important to debate this amongst ourselves. Maps are pretty subjective. I think the only way that a development studio could keep adding brand new maps that have never been in the game before, but not piss people off with them and annoy people with them, is that they'd have to play it really safe. They'd have to play by the rules of other fan favorite maps, which at that point, yeah, you might as well just remake maps. You know, I feel like Treyarch has been trying to recapture the magic of some of their fan favorite maps for years, and they really, you know, sometimes they nail it and sometimes they fail at it, but it's very hard to figure out what people are going to like when it's something they haven't seen before. So if you have a map that's in a previous Call of Duty game that you have numbers on that, hey, people voted for this map every time it came up, Maybe we keep putting that in the game. That's why Treyarch games always have Nuketown, because Nuketown is almost always voted for, maybe people are getting sick of it now, but it was so popular that it would be dumb of them to not put it in later titles. You might think that companies just want to make money off of us when it comes to video games, but that's not entirely true. I mean, to make money off of you, they have to make you happy, so they have to have some sort of data to pull from that would allow them to figure out, well, are we going to make them happy with this? Because if they do make you happy, that's awesome, because that's exactly what they need to get your money next time, and you know, with the next upcoming titles and in the next season with the next battle pass, they have to make you happy. So it's sort of lazy, but yet makes a lot of sense to remake maps. I get that, and again, this video really isn't about whether or not that's a good idea, because sometimes I really actually love remade maps, and other times I absolutely do not. Again, I'm excited for some of the remade maps that we're going to see in Season 5 of Black Ops Cold War, despite that I'm not a big Black Ops Cold War fan. Again, not the point. The point is, if your argument revolves around the fact that people won't be happy anyway, you've misstepped somewhere. And I totally share the sentiment. I have that complaint. I think gamers, especially recently, are kind of insatiable. Nothing's good for them. Call of Duty players are mad, Red Dead players are mad, Halo players are mad. It always seems like half of every community is at each other's throats or at the developers' throats at any given time. Okay, so I get that. I understand that problem. So when you have a problem where both sides aren't necessarily right or wrong, and both sides would probably be complaining at one time or another depending on the decision, what you have to go for is universal value. And I think something that's both valuable and universal is the idea of novelty and creativity. If you want people to enjoy your game, flex your creative muscles. Put little gimmicks, Easter eggs, and hidden areas in maps. Do things that don't break the game, but definitely add a layer of unpredictability. Find that balance between playing things safe and giving players something they haven't experienced before. If the future life cycles of future Call of Duty games are just going to be full of remnants from the past of other Call of Duty games, I feel like that will end up weighing down on people's perception of COD. COD has already been picked on for being a recycled franchise. People already sort of see the same game being repeated every 12 months with different exceptions here and there, but people have that perception. You really don't want the game to live up to that perception more. I think Modern Warfare played the remake game a little too fast and loose. I really think we had too many remade maps in both Modern Warfare 2019 and Black Ops Cold War, but at least in Modern Warfare 2019, they would close off an area that was unnecessary and open up a new one. They'd add a new little parkour spot. They'd add a new route, a new flank route, a new piece of cover that wasn't in a spot before. And you might say, well, that wasn't always perfect. Well, it wasn't always perfect to you, but other people either didn't care or enjoyed it. That's not really the point of this video, is to talk about what map design is good and what isn't. It's not something I could fit into a video. But, well, maybe I could. Maybe I'll try one day, go out of my comfort zone a little bit. But I think the important thing to realize is that it is lazy for Treyarch to keep remaking maps, especially in the way that they have been, copying the original aesthetics and exact layouts of those old maps. It's a bad idea. There's no reason for it, because throwbacks aren't special. When throwbacks are the norm, it just is lazy. If it isn't laziness, then I'd like to know what the hell else it is. But play with the layouts a little bit, be a little creative. If you want to play things safe, at least play things safe and interesting. I don't think those are diametrically opposed ideas. You can have something safe and comforting, but then with a little bit of intrigue to it. They could have made Raid a stormy map in Black Ops Cold War, and that would have been the same layout, it would have played the same, but would have been visually and audibly different. And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. I don't think anybody really would have complained. They might have preferred the old aesthetic, but this is a different game. And I feel like the game needs to differentiate itself. And I think that if my eyes keep getting the same stimuli, and the dopamine receptors in my brain keep getting the same stimuli, I'm still getting the same layouts and the same pathing and the same engagements that I've had for years in multiple iterations, that's going to bore me. So Again, I think it's universally valuable for a developer to be able to play it safe and give players what they think they'll want, but in an interesting and fun way. I personally think that throwbacks should be special. They should be the exception to the rule, and in Cold War they've been the rule. Like, you just get remade maps, deal with it. And there's nothing interesting about them, and the aesthetic is the exact same. So it's not even like when we used to get remade maps and they had a whole different layout, aesthetic, theme, time period to them. But so it was the same layout that you enjoyed playing on, but with something new for your eyes. It's not even like that, so it is lazy. And I do think we need to value creativity and intrigue and novelty, and if you don't value those things, then I don't know why you buy new video games, and I don't know why I should ever have to use new gameplay again in my videos. If I have a really good match of Call of Duty, why don't I just use that piece of footage in every video? Because you'd get bored watching it. It'd be the same stimuli over and over again, the same visuals over and over again. The same predictable layouts and patterns and opening rushes. It's just not... It's not conducive to having an immensely replayable experience. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.